Next thing I want to talk about is there's another kind of controversial topic going on, and it's Travis Scott, who allegedly, I will say allegedly, stole somebody's song or plagiarized from somebody's work of art. So let's check this out.
Hi and hello everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and we've got something that I think is kind of a big here. Blah. Blah. Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you are doing well. And we have something today that I think is a pretty big deal to talk about. Something that's kind of crazy, pretty unfair, and involves a rapper, singer, songwriter, producer extraordinaire, Mr. Travis Scott. As you guys may know, presuming you don't live under a rock, Travis Scott is one of the biggest, most influential, and successful artists in the music industry today, regardless of genre. In fact, he is so successful, he just dropped a brand new project under his Jack Boys
That kind of just brought me back to my conversation. We were talking about superstars in game, and I forgot to mention Travis Scott is definitely one of the superstars in the game. And even then, he's not from this kind of newer generation, but I just had to say that if you were catching up.
Cactus Jack label titled Jack Boys 2. Even though this record was not like officially simply just a Travis Scott album, which that in and of itself would draw a lot of attention, especially considering how many platinum certifications the guy has at this point. Rodeo 2 times platinum, Birds in the Trap 4 times platinum, Astroworld 6 times platinum, Utopia 2 times platinum. And so yeah, of course, his new Jack Boys 2 project, which he made along with collaborators and Cactus Jack label mates like Don Toliver, saw one of the biggest debuts of first week sales of any rap record so far in 2025. So yeah, the record was drawing a lot of attention. Personally, I wasn't really a big fan of it, given the previous material that Travis Scott had released in the past. Personally, I perceive the quality of Jack Boys 2 to be very low, mostly sounding like a bunch of unfinished cutting room floor stuff from Travis and Don Toliver. But that did not stop Travis's fans from loving the project and defending it with their last dying breath, which is fine. If you enjoy it, continue to enjoy it. But one thing that I think is frankly indefensible is this bit of news that is coming out of the album right now. And that's that there may have been a pretty key sample on a huge song from the record that has just gone uncleared. Now, as successful and as marketable as Travis Scott and his music have proven to be over the past decade, he has a history of not like always crossing his T's and dotting his I's in the way that he should. Whether it's like properly mixing his guests into the song on the album or, making sure logistically everything is where it should be when it comes to running his Astroworld festival. And now I've been seeing some accusations flying around the timeline.
One thing I will say, like, what seems to be happening is that kind of character, that like his image has definitely taken a hit over the last couple of years, and there seems to be some sort of shift to the negative more than ever I've seen kind of with his career. A lot of times he was kind of like this lovable, high energy, just here to have fun kind of guy that, you didn't really hear too much about outside of like, the rumor mills or TMZ type shit, but like nothing like too crazy. For the most part, you either liked his music or you didn't, but like you didn't really have strong opinions about him. But that seems to be shifting. Like that kind of sentiment definitely seems to be shifting. And obviously the whole fucking Astroworld debacle that had people literally getting trampled to death and dying, put a lot of sour taste in a lot of people's mouths about him and like kind of tainted his image, but obviously not to the highest extent, because he can still do sold out festivals and shows and like put together like these monstrous crowds. But that was kind of the first real chip in his kind of armor that I've seen. And then you also have the whole Pusha T situation from this year, and it's just like, okay, things seem to be kind of like gathering steam, and like the overall mood and feeling towards Travis Scott seems to be shifting towards a little bit more negative than I've ever seen at any point in his career. And then like you throw on top of this these plagiarism, stealing accusations, and like like if he's not careful, this little ripple can turn to a full fucking tsunami of hate towards his way, and like kind of trying to tear him down and tear down his career and character. Seen it happen many times already to many people in music and like entertainment in general. So yeah, he got to be careful because things are definitely seem to be taking a turn in terms of like public sentiment towards him.
Centering around a Chicago music group by the name of Pixel Grip. Apparently they have a song titled Pursuit, and the band alleges that this track was sampled into the song from Jack Boys 2, Kick Out, which frankly is one of many tracks from the album that I could barely care to remember given just how boring Jack Boys 2 was. But if you don't quite recall, it's the one track from the LP that features the endless 21 Savage ad-libs, but like no actual 21 Savage verse. But another ear-catching element of the song is what seems to be the sample from this Pixel Grip song, Pursuit. Which, look, there are accusations that fly around the music industry every year in terms of like, hey, this huge mainstream artist like stole my song idea. I want credit. I'm gonna sue them. Austin and I see these stories and see these sorts of accusations all the time, and we don't always do stories on them because very rarely is the accusation like a totally like dead to rights thing. But I'm now making this video here in this particular instance because this is very egregious.
I mean, let's be real, like big artists stealing from indie artists and stealing from like other artists, like smaller mainstream, like smaller indie type artists and bands is nothing new in the music industry. Like it's happened time and time again in memoriam. But the thing that's changed is social media and the ability for said artists to kind of publicly get their frustrations or claims out there on a much wider kind of scale, like basically have a loudspeaker of their own that can rival even some of the biggest artists and labels out there, has changed the dynamic significantly. And like, so to hear like an artist like Travis Scott is being accused of stealing a sample or song or sound from a much smaller indie band that probably most people have never really heard of is not that surprising. It's really not that surprising. And it happens a lot with these producer / artists that have had so much success in their career, that have like produced so many things, that have like had such an insane level of creative output that over the years you come to find out like, oh, they actually didn't produce a lot of their shit, especially like later on in their careers, because when you're that, you know, big and you're that like, and you're putting out music that much, like it's hard to be that creatively great on a consistent basis. Like you're gonna look at other producers, you're gonna look at other art, you're gonna get other people producing your stuff or like getting input from others. And like, you know, even somebody like a Dr. Dre was famously rumored to not produce anything but to put his name on a lot of other people's productions. And like I think that is probably the case with the Travis Scott at this point in his career, is that he probably doesn't produce the majority of his songs anymore. He probably has production teams, or he has smaller producers that he pulls from, and like he kind of just probably takes credit for a lot of stuff. He might mix it, he might master it, he might add certain elements to it, but the case is that he probably is not the one that is literally sitting at the desk, sitting at the turntables, putting these beats together anymore. And that gets a lot of these artists in trouble because they don't have the input and they don't have, you know, the understanding of where these other producers are necessarily getting these sounds from, because that's not what they're kind of interested in doing anymore. That's not what their main focus is anymore. So that can also get them in trouble because they are such a big act that, you know, the other artists are going to hear it, or they are going to see it. It's going to get back to them. And then like they're going to expose themselves. Whereas the producers who are pushing these beats to them and these sounds to them don't really have that much exposure or reliability because they're no names, and you are the one that is at the forefront of this. And like, I think that is probably the case for this one here. I don't think he specifically went out and like stole their song, but he probably has some production team and some producers who probably heard this somewhere and just put it in their song, not thinking much about it and not thinking that, you know, anything would come about it. And he kind of just took it and probably ran with it. I would not be surprised if that is not the case here.
Like what Travis and his collaborators have done with this track is clearly...
Oh, and I was right. It's from producers OCT Minus and Sean Momberger. That's okay. So it wasn't even him. So I was right. Like that's what happens a lot of times when you're a big artist, when you've got so much going on in your career, you got so many other things like pulling your attention that you're not that tapped into where people are getting their samples or getting their sound. And like if you don't have the right labels, you don't have the right people in place to like clear these things and to like make sure that you're doing things in the up and up. Yeah, you can get yourself some hot water. And especially being an artist as big as you are the most exposed for liability.
Built around sounds and instrumentation from this Pixel Grip song. Now, for everybody who may be unfamiliar with this group and the track and may not necessarily recall the Travis Scott song from Jack Boys 2, let's listen to this Pursuit track, at least the start of it, because this is pretty much where the sample comes from. So in that little section of music that you heard there were some different elements that you can be free to rewind and hear, like, that very rough synthesizer bass line, those little doo-doo-doo-doo like tom drums, as well as the sound of the group singer, hitting this little like vocal line. And now here is a snippet from this Travis Scott kickout track, which, mind you, isn't just some random Jack Boys 2 deep cut. This is a song that Travis really promoted hard with a music video. As I'm sure you just heard, like all of those elements are exactly there. They may be pitched up a little bit and buried under some heavier drums. As I'm sure he promoted hard with a music video.
Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Didn't even try to hide it. Like just straight up stole it. Barely an interpolation at that. Like you just kind of like pitched things down, slowed them down a little bit, added some drums over it. But like the sample is very obviously in there. And that's just something that just does not give a fuck at that point, because like that is super blatant, super fucking blatant. As I'm sure you just heard, like all of those elements are exactly there. They may be pitched up a little bit and buried under some heavier drums as well as Travis Scott's vocals, but the synth bass line is there. The vocal lead is there. Even the tom drums, the doo-doo-doo-doo are there too. Like pretty much every major element of the start of that Pixel Grip song is laced into this beat, completely untouched, unseparated in terms of stems. It literally sounds like just the start of that track was grabbed and looped and thrown underneath everything else is kind of like, the song's spinal cord, which is just so offensively lazy and ridiculous because like, I feel like these are musical elements that any competent music producer could essentially copy themselves from scratch or just find some way to come up with like an alternate version that isn't quite the same exact thing. And look, that doesn't inherently mean that like once you go through all of that extra effort, the song or the art you're creating is going to be better. I'm just saying that would be a viable alternative to just blatantly ripping off this band's sound. But since Travis and his producers didn't go through the trouble of creating this instrumental completely from scratch, the least they could do is give credit to the group of musicians who actually did do that labor. And facts. Spitting facts. Like, I see people out there trying to like shoot him bail and give him like grace, being like, it's not even his song. He didn't produce it. Like he's not at fault here. Yeah, 1000% he is at fault because his name is on the project. His name is on the song. He's the one that's pushing out. He's the face of this. Like he is the guy. He is the number one person liable for this. Like I've mentioned, like because the other producers, you though, you're the one that's getting the most money. This you're touring on this. You're performing shows on this. You're putting out music videos on this. Yeah. You are the one that's most liable. So like, I'm not going to shoot you no bells, shoot you no grace. For somebody as successful and probably has as much money as him and as much label backing as him, the fact that you couldn't even reach out to this small fucking band like this, I'm not going to say small because I'm not going to like disrespect them like that, but you can't even reach out to this band and do a formal request to sample their song and even give them a little money or give them a little publishing or something is fucking disrespectful, because like you are also an artist and you were at one point a smaller artist who understands how difficult it is to, you know, make money and to create a career out of this and to get to the levels that you're trying to get to. And for you to turn around and shit on like smaller artists and smaller bands than you in this kind of way is just fucking disrespectful. And like, it wasn't even close to a reimagining. Like, they literally just, like he said, he literally just took the intro, did some pitching, added some drums, and that was it. Called it a day and looped it over. Like, that is blatant copyright infringement. And just like, for somebody, and when I see artists and I see other musicians in that kind of position doing this exact same thing, it's just like, I can only imagine how you react if somebody just ripped off, you know, some of the shit that you did and you produce. Like, it's and as a producer yourself, or as a former producer yourself, to do this is just like unacceptable. Like, it's just straight up unacceptable. And like, yeah, I can see why kind of the sentiment towards him has been kind of shifting.
And come up with the beat, come up with the vocal part, come up with the bass line that must have caught one of their ears enough for them to think, oh yeah, that's a cool loop, let's grab that and put it in this song and then bury it under a bunch of other shit. If you are going to use that shortcut to get from point A to point B, the least you could do is credit the goddamn band, give them some money, give them support, give them a shout out, just give them something. But as of right now, meaning the time in which I'm shooting this video, that seemingly hasn't happened. And the only recourse Pixel Grip is taking at the moment is going on Twitter and calling this shit out, which honestly, I hope they escalate if Travis Scott continues to ignore their efforts to reach out and draw some attention to this issue. Because considering that man's deep pockets, there's no reason a group at Pixel Grip's level, having written the song they have and clearly being sampled into the song, there's no reason they should go unpaid. So yeah, there you
None, zero, zilch, like absolutely no fucking reason that you can't credit them or get the proper sample clearance at all. I'm sure they would have been more than glad and happy to have their song be sampled and to get some credit and like be recognized by an artist as big as like a Travis Scott. But no, did you do that? No, you just shit on them instead.
you have it. I mean, pretty much dead to rights right there with that Pixel Grip recording being incorporated into this mid-ass track. But even if the final product is like very apparently thrown together, that's still the band's song. They need some credit. They need some something. And I think Travis Scott should work to fix this.
1000%. 1000%. He should do the right thing and like fix this situation. If not, like, I fully agree that they should sue to the maximum amount and get their fucking money because, you know, this is your art. This is your life force. This is your life force. This is your career. This is how you make money. This is how you know, do the things that you want to do. And like to have an artist like that just come in and just blatantly rip you off and like barely even change things up or touch things up or even try to hide the sample that you're doing. It's like, yeah, okay, like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?